Hey guys, Stock Saturday. A little bit early. I'm on Friday night, sort of just as the market's finishing. But there we go. Very, very strange week. Sort of rocketed up midweek and made quite a lot of sales, and has come all the way tumbling back down on Thursday and Friday. Sort of not dissimilar to the markets really, but yes, I'm down 2,000, about sort of more 1,500 quid, which is quite similar to the markets. Nasdaq is down, admittedly, 0.4%, slightly worse, and the S&P is down 0.21% for the week. So I've ever so slightly outperformed that, albeit, as I say, I did make some reasonably big sales during the week, so that has stemmed some of the loss, I suppose. So the sales came in the options interactive brokers portfolio, and I sort of withdrew some cash, which is now sort of sitting in the bank ready for the mortgage. So the cash that I had sort of sitting in Trading212, I am sort of now starting to deploy because I won't need to withdraw that. Just sort of, yeah, slight difference in how things worked, but there we go. So I've started making some reasonable buys, which I will come back to a little bit later. But having a look at some news, sort of. We had some crypto news from CleanSpark. They're sort of starting to make some initial switches potentially to HPC AI computing rather than Bitcoin mining. It is sort of very, very early stages, so I would say they're a little bit late to the party. We're getting more deals being done, and yeah, they're sort of taking out debt backed by their Bitcoin on the balance sheet to invest in high performance computing. Sort of, I would say, converting some of their existing Bitcoin mining facilities into AI sort of seems not throwing good money after bad, because the money does seem to be there and it's quite profitable. But yeah, I would kind of think build it from scratch that way to begin with, rather than sort of build it, let the Bitcoin mining run for, literally a few months, some of these might be, and then start thinking about converting them. It's just seems a little bit of a poor use of capital, but there we go. I would have thought I won't be in CleanSpark for all that much longer. We'll have to see. So that was 100 million, and then a few days later they did an initial extra 100 million with 2 Prime, so expanding their total amount to 400 million of borrowed money against their Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So sort of levering up, I suppose. They have 13,000 Bitcoin. They've now drawn 400 million. Got another one of Hive Digital's 1 exahash increases. I think this might have been 2 exahash actually. They didn't do one for 19, I don't think. And yeah, things are sort of pushing on. They want to get to 25 by Thanksgiving, so that's another 2 months. It's less than 1 exahash a week now, where they were sort of doing 1 exahash a week. They can sort of slow down ever so slightly. They have sort of noting the huge growth numbers. Year to date hash rate increase of 233%. And they're now mining 9 Bitcoin a day and down to 18 joules per terahash, which is pretty good considering difficulty is rocketing up. So they do need to be getting that efficiency, joules per terahash, down. They're at 2% of the network, and yeah, basically everything's on target. They are still very much largely Bitcoin mining, a little bit of sort of their own AI, not as a deal with anybody else. They just run it themselves, and they're sort of leasing it out to Canada and Canadian firms. So yeah, they have a little bit of AI, but they really do want higher Bitcoin prices very, very soon, which we are getting quite the opposite at the moment. So we'll see. So just sort of noting that I'm back in old friend of the portfolio, Sylvania Platinum. Sort of noted last week, I believe, that I'd got back into them, starting to sort of deploy um, some of my cash on hand, which is sort of rather large at the moment. I haven't been sort of too eager to suddenly go all in just because there was some cash. I'm sort of drip feeding it in at the moment. Haven't really found anything that I wanted to absolutely pile into. But yeah, Sylvania sort of looking reasonably good. This is Q2 earnings, so ending June. It's obviously quite a little bit old by now, and we've seen a reasonable run up in the platinum group metals prices since then. But yeah, sort of numbers look reasonably good. 21,000 of the 4E PGMs. Sylvania Platinum sort of changed a little bit since then. The 6E PGMs, which includes ruthenium and iridium, which was never a sort of a massive focus, is now coming more into focus. You know, it's sort of what is that? 5,800 ounces of sort of the total. So it's quite a large amount. And I sort of digging into their mix, I believe ruthenium is about the same as palladium now in terms of sort of total, total 6E ounces. So, and ruthenium is sort of, we'll come on to in a second, looking quite good. So yeah, hopefully all of these numbers should be improving in Q3 and certainly Q4. Sort of if these prices do hold, then Q4 would be a full quarter of solid prices. But yeah, the sort of net profit was relatively low, quite a bit up on Q1, sort of calendar Q1, and yeah, costs down quite a bit. Direct operating costs down, indirect operating costs down 24%. So yeah, with much better platinum prices and some of the other metals, I think this should look pretty good. Cash certainly not what it used to be from when I held them before. It's sort of over $100 million. Has come down quite a bit. They're sort of investing in a joint venture on chromium, I believe it was. I need to sort of dig a little bit deeper into some of their other, other expeditions. But yeah, cash sort of down isn't ideal. And all-in costs sort of not really moving a huge amount, down 2% for the quarter, which is not too bad at all. So $1,245 all-in cost compared to a gross basket price excluding ruthenium and iridium of $1,622. So reasonable amount of margin there, not like the sort of gold and silver margins that we're getting at the moment, but that should improve quite a bit in the next couple of quarters. So I think I noted these prices before. We sort of had Q2, as I just mentioned, most of Q2 was sort of around the $980 platinum price, and sort of June it really started to rocket up, and then sort of July has been 1,364 to getting towards the end of Q3 now, up to $1,564, sort of really in the last couple of weeks. It did have a little bit of time at sort of high 1400s, but yeah, really started to go now. And palladium sort of following suit, not quite at a new high yet. It sort of reached its high in July, but is quickly sort of racing up. Rhodium sort of isn't doing the same. If it will come on. 7,125. Yes, sort of last year it's come up to 5,000, and then sort of for Q3 it's come up to sort of 7,000 to 7,500. So it's going in steps, I guess. We're a long, long way from the 20,000 that it used to be. So yeah, it provides less of a proportion of the profit. Iridium, the sort of smaller but somewhat, these metals are somewhat more important now than they used to be. Iridium is sort of not a huge one for them. And I think I showed the ruthenium before, that it's pretty much doubled on sort of 21st, 22nd of August up to 925, and it's sort of similar to rhodium. It'll basically just sit there for a month or more sometimes, barely moving. Not exactly a huge liquid market. It's quite thinly traded. So yeah, that's reasonable price, and most of that is in sort of the end of Q3, so a full quarter in Q4 hopefully of that or more would be even better. So Q3 should look good, Q4 should look even better already. That's the platinum side. Gold, obviously, we can see is going absolutely bananas. Sort of just, what is that, 5 weeks ago we were at 3,339, now 3,765. That's a pretty solid move. Does keep sort of having days where it's down 0.5% or something, and then by the end of the day it'll be up. Just continue buying all the way throughout the day. So that is very, very strong. Again, it should have a nice Q3 for the miners, but Q4 looking even better if we can sort of hold these prices into the end of the year, if not sort of more of a gain. Most of Q2 sort of being in the $3,300 range. So for the gold miners, again, Q3 should look good, Q4 should look even better. Similarly on the silver price, silver sort of going a little bit more parabolic than gold at the moment. You've sort of been saying that it would start to catch up. I think we got down to sort of 81 gold to silver ratio, which is literally just the gold price divided by the silver price, in case anyone's wondering. But yeah, it's sort of really starting to angle up almost vertical now, and sort of similarly, even more so to gold. You're sort of getting, after a strong move upwards, I think it sort of Friday early morning futures trading, it was down about 30 or 40 cents, and you think, well, it was up $1.25 on Thursday, so that's nothing really to to get too worked up about. And then it ended sort of, well, nearly $1 up again. So retraced all of that down move and just decided to carry on upwards. So yeah, you basically can't keep this down at the moment. It wants to move. And we had a rather interesting move on copper. So sort of obviously we had the tariff news, and this is sort of US copper, so you didn't really see this on the more international prices, but on the US at least, we had that sort of tariff retracement back down again. And then in the last month, or in the last week at least, there was a mudslide, it sounds like, in one of the Freeport McMoran mines. So yeah, that's a bit of a disaster for them. Sort of thoughts go out to anybody who's sort of had any fatalities in the family. I'm not sure sort of if there was or how many there's been, but yeah, certainly for price, this has been a positive move, of course, because that's quite a large mine to be shutting down. That affects supply, and demand is still constant, so price does increase. And it's, again, not being callous, but it is a little bit of a lottery sort of holding these miners, whether it is an accident that happens in one of yours that you're holding or one of the others. If it's one of the others, then your holdings tend to do well because price increases and yeah, your supply is constant. So I've had KGHM doing quite well this week off the back of this. So checking in on some economic news. Never take sort of that much notice of UK sort of PMI numbers and things, but yeah, they look quite poor for September. 46 on the UK manufacturing PMI. That's quite low. Anything under 50 is sort of considered contracting, so not ideal. Service is a little bit higher. The US side was again all a little bit lower than expectations, but all sort of quite noticeably above 50. I do sort of prefer to look at the ISM numbers. They're a little bit more sort of business focused, a little bit more global focused rather than just the US, but the S&P ones sort of focus a little bit more on the US and they're looking quite positive. So there you go. Wednesday, not really a huge amount, just some housing numbers, which were admittedly quite good. New home sales 800,000, where they've sort of been in the 600 to 650s, and yeah, that was a little bit of a surprise. Thursday, we got a raft of pretty strong news from the US. Q2, old news, but Q2 GDP ending June. The sort of final numbers have come out and they were a lot better than expected. 3.8% was expected, sort of 3.3. I say expected, it's 3 months ago nearly now, but the previous number sort of was assumed to be 3.3. Jobless claims sort of lower than expected. Durable goods orders up, and sort of basically everyone was sort of saying, well, are we still going to get 2 rate cuts into the end of the year with all of this looking extremely strong? Sort of, does it need a rate cut basically? But yeah, then Friday we sort of had the inflation numbers sort of basically all come in as expected. So yeah, I think you still probably could see those 2 interest rate cuts potentially, and they may just ignore the sort of solid GDP. At Friday, admittedly, we had a provisional number for Q3 GDP. The Atlanta Fed sort of do their GDP now, sort of how they're feeling Q3 is going as it happens. They'll do this in July, August, and September, sort of what they're expecting, and yeah, they're now saying 3.9%, so it'd be even higher than Q2, which was considered a rebound quarter. So yeah, basically all guns blazing in the US. So portfolio wise, cash is down about £14,000 because I have been making some reasonably big buys, I suppose. I topped up FMC Corporation, not wanting to go absolutely crazy on them because the sort of agricultural side isn't looking all that strong at the moment, and FMC have sort of patent issues. One of their sort of big products is coming up for the end of its patent, so yeah, there's a little bit of risk with that, but does still look reasonable value. I left CF Industries alone, but I added quite a bit to Euronext. I think it was at 24 shares. Bumped that up to 50, so it's more than doubling the position. I think they look very good value here. Down from sort of 140s, 145s, I think they were up to not so long ago, and sort of solid margins, cash producing. They're buying another stock exchange from the looks of it, the Athens Stock Exchange. I'll admit I didn't even realise they had one, but yeah, fair enough. If they got cash on hand, buy another exchange and just sort of keep consolidating, monopolising, I suppose, the European market. And sort of my part of my thesis with them was they seem to be the lead issuer for quite a large amount of debt. around the world, really. So yeah, the debt is pushing on faster than ever. So yeah, I quite like Euronext for that, and may continue to add to this. I doubled my position in AB Limited, my sort of robotics picks and shovels play. Quite like the look of them. Added a reasonable amount to Ingredient, about 30 shares, I think. So yeah, still think they look pretty good. They've been coming down as well. And topped up CME Group a little bit, I think 20 shares. So yeah, sort of been through them, been through their earnings before, and I think they look really, really solid. And in the ISA side, I didn't really have a huge amount of cash in here, but I have freed up quite a large amount by selling the crypto miners, sort of somewhat strategically timed, I suppose. I could have timed it a little bit better. They sort of ran up into Wednesday, as I say, and then have sort of come back down again. But so most of these sales were at higher prices than they currently are. So I guess you'd take something from that. And yeah, so I sold quite a bit of Clean Spark, quite a bit of Iron, Riot Platforms, and Hive Digital. So freed up quite a lot of cash. And with that, I've still got quite a lot to left to deploy, but I bought a couple more shares of Samsung. They're quite expensive shares, sort of 1,400. I think that is pounds, not dollars, actually. So I should change that. Left Sylvania Platinum alone, but sort of pretty much doubled my position in all four of the REITs. So Prologis, Alexandria Real Estate, Vici, and American Tower. So they're all sort of, hovering about £5,000 each. Still unsure as to whether I want to keep adding to them, but we'll see. On the interactive broker side, I haven't sort of done anything with this for months, really. I do intend to sort of at some point. KGHM doing quite well, of course, off the back of the higher copper price and silver price. It should really, I think, be doing more with the silver price as high as it is, but maybe that'll come in as a nice surprise in the earnings. We'll have to see. Pan American sort of doing pretty well, 4% up on the day. So yeah, looking rather nice. And on the option side, obviously quite a large change in some of these numbers. I sold 60 contracts of iron, sort of some earlier in the week, at sort of somewhat similar prices to what they are now, and some sort of pretty much right at the peak on Wednesday. So that was quite a well-timed sale for me. I don't normally get these short-term timing things, on the nose, but yeah, that worked quite well. Still, obviously, very, very high profit percentage. One of them did during the week. I've got sort of 4 different strikes, and one of them went 130x or 113,000% up. So yeah, that was very, very nice. And yeah, Equinox moving up ever so slightly. Coeur Mining sort of pushing up ever so slightly, with the silver price rocketing up to $46. So very, very nice. Hive, I did actually sell a little bit of Hive, actually. I should update that, but that's come down quite a bit. They really need higher crypto price or Bitcoin prices into the end of the year. I have been sort of potentially looking at trying to swap some of my January options for March options, or if they had them, June options, but they don't seem to have those. But we'll have to see. I may sort of, similar to what I did with Equinox, sort of take the hit, have less contracts, but give me that sort of extra 6 months if they come out with the June ones. We'll see. B2 Gold seems to be that was a good buy. That was sort of last week, I believe. Got up to 300 contracts. It was at sort of break even. It's now at 44%. So very, very nice gain for 1 week. Riot has come down a little bit, but has gone in, has come down a little bit, but I did sell about 100 contracts, so that has gone up in profit for the week and into the green. So that has not been green for many, many, many months. So that was quite nice. Sold another 10 Cypher contracts. They have just announced their deal, sort of partly with Google and partly with Fluidstack, I believe, for a relatively small part of their sort of total power under operation. And yeah, they announced an 800 million convertible debt issue with that. Market didn't seem to like that, and then it's sort of just all gone down into the rest of sort of Thursday and Friday. So yeah, that's come down quite a bit. And then Himax sort of has barely moved. It's up slightly. I've taken a little bit of a punt just now, actually, on Nakamoto, a treasury company. So sort of some of these MicroStrategy competitors essentially are sort of starting to, well, MicroStrategy aren't, but some of the competitors are starting to trade at a discount to the Bitcoin that they actually hold, which a lot of people are saying that basically all of the treasuries sort of, that wouldn't be uncommon for it because they have people to pay, whereas just holding Bitcoin yourself, you wouldn't have that. And yeah, what reason should they really have for trading it 1.5 times their Bitcoin value, or 2 times, or 10 times? I think Nakamoto were at 20 times, so that is just absurd, really. But yeah, so that's sort of extremely volatile at the moment. There was a huge spread on them. I'm sort of already down 12% when I bought them. And CleanSpark sort of dropped back a little bit because those are November the 20th options, so less than sort of 8 or 9 weeks to go, basically, to get for CleanSpark to get to 20, which, yeah, could still happen. But yeah, £96,000 in cash. I'm sort of keen to get this into something relatively soon. I don't mind having a bit of cash, but not 96,000. So yeah, interesting. A lot going on at the moment. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, how you guys are doing, and like and subscribe. See you soon.